Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm your instructor Sanya Gilani and this is the subject of Rise of the Novel 18th and 19th Century. We are on our lecture number 19. The topic for today is the theme of utilitarianism in Charles Dickens' Hard Times. It is about education, facts and the suppression of humanity. Good morning everyone. Today we will engage deeply with one of the central themes in Dickens' story, the theme of utilitarianism. To properly understand Dickens' criticism, we must begin by asking an essential question: what is utilitarianism? Utilitarianism was a major philosophical and social doctrine of the 18th and 19th centuries, most famously associated with English philosophers Jeremy Bentham and later developed by John Stuart Mill. At its core, utilitarianism is the belief that human actions, laws, and institutions should be judged according to their utility, that is, how useful they are in producing the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. Bentham argued that morality should be based on measurable outcomes. Pleasure should be maximized and pain minimized. In theory, this philosophy appeared democratic and rational because it sought social benefit through practical reasoning rather than tradition or emotion. However, Dickens was deeply suspicious of what happened when this philosophy became overly mechanical. In Victorian society, utilitarianism often evolved into an excessive faith in statistics, facts, efficiency, productivity, economic usefulness, and rational calculation. As a result, imagination, emotional richness, compassion, and individuality were often dismissed as impractical or unnecessary. Dickens believed that when human beings are treated not only according to measurable utility, they become less human and more machines. This is precisely the danger Hard Times dramatizes. The novel's subtitle for these times, Hard Times, immediately suggests that Dickens is responding to the specific conditions of Victorian England, especially industrialism, capitalism, and educational reform. Dickens saw that England was becoming a society increasingly obsessed with numbers and systems, and he feared that such a society would sacrifice the soul for efficiency. Nowhere in this critique clearer is it than in the opening line. Thomas Granquin starts the story by declaring, "Now, what I want is facts, facts, and facts. Teach these boys and girls nothing but facts. Facts alone are wanted in life." This statement functions almost like a manifesto of rigid utilitarianism. Notice Dickens' repetition of the word facts. It is abrupt, forceful, and authoritarian. The repetition itself makes mechanical and insistence. Granquin does not encourage understanding, creativity, or curiosity. Instead, he reduces education to information. For Dickens, this is profoundly dangerous. Education, ideally, should nurture the whole child: mind, imagination, morality, and emotional intelligence. But Granquin's philosophy seeks to produce children who are efficient, rational, and useful. Dickens presents this educational model as deeply dehumanizing. The children in Granquin's classroom are described almost as objects rather than living personalities. They are imagined as vessels to be filled, containers for data. This metaphor is significant because it strips children of spontaneity and uniqueness. The schoolmaster and his entire persona is symbolic of the suggestion that life should be choked, wonder and imagination should be removed out of a child's childhood. Dickens uses satire here brilliantly. He exaggerates utilitarian logic to reveal its absurdity. If children are taught only facts, then what happens to fancy, storytelling, empathy, and moral imagination? Dickens' answer is devastating. Those qualities wither, they die out. This is why Cissy Jupe becomes such an important character. Cissy, the daughter of a circus performer, enters Granquin's educational system as an outsider. She represents imagination, affection, intuition, and emotional depth. When asked to define a horse scientifically, Cissy cannot do so according to Granquin's standards. Bitzer, another student, however, can give the technically correct answer: quadruped and a gramivorous 40 teeth animal. Absurd description, but that's how he described the horse. Bitzer's answer is factually accurate, but Dickens uses this moment ironically. Bitzer knows the anatomy of a horse, but Sissy understands life beyond categorization. Dickens is asking his audience the question of merely classification, or does true wisdom involve emotional and human understanding? Bitzer symbolizes the product of pure utilitarian education. He is pale, cold, self interested, and calculating. He embodies reason stripped of compassion. Later in the novel, Bitzer's betrayal confirms this. He has been trained to pursue self interest over everything else. Thus, Dickens demonstrates that utilitarian education may create functional individuals, but they can never be created because they become morally hollow. Sissy, on the other hand, possesses kindness, loyalty, and emotional resilience. Through Sissy, Dickens argues that imagination is not an intellectual weakness, it is essential to humanity. Now let us consider another character, that is Louisa Grancrine. Louisa is perhaps Dickens' greatest tragedy of utilitarian upbringing. Raised under her father's rigid doctrine, Louisa has been denied imaginative nourishment. She has no fairy tales, no emotional freedom, no language for her inner life. She famously asks, "What does it matter?" This recurring emptiness reflects spiritual starvation. Louisa's emotional repression is not natural, it is manufactured. Because Grancrine has trained her to suppress feelings, Louisa enters a loveless marriage with Bounderby, based not on passion or compatibility, but practicality. This marriage becomes one of Dickens' harshest critique of utilitarian social logic. Love is replaced by transaction. Emotion is subordinated to convenience. The consequences are catastrophic. Louisa's eventual breakdown symbolizes the collapse of the philosophy that shaped her. Dickens suggests that no human being can thrive when imagination and emotions are systematically denied. In this way, Louisa becomes evidence that utilitarianism fails not only socially but psychologically. Now let us turn to the circus itself. The circus in Hard Times is not merely entertainment, it is ideological resistance. Sleary, the circus troupe. Sleary's The Circus Troupe represents joy, wonder, community, flexibility, compassion. In contrast to Coketown's machinery and Grancrine's rigidity, the circus embodies life and its imaginative dimensions. Sleary's statement, "people must be amused," may sound simplistic, but Dickens uses it philosophically. He means that amusement, creativity, and emotional vitality are not luxuries, they are necessary. Without them, society becomes mechanical. Dickens does not argue against reason itself. This is crucial. He is not an anti-intellectual. Rather, he opposes imbalance. He critiques a worldview that elevates facts while excluding fancy. This distinction is important because Dickens ultimately advocates synthesis of facts. He synthesizes that facts matter, but so do imagination, empathy, and moral feelings. By the end of the novel, Grancrine himself recognizes his failure. He sees that his philosophy has harmed his children, especially Louisa and Tom. This transformation is Dickens' call for reform. Society must educate not only their minds but the heart. In broader Victorian context, Dickens' critique also responds to industrial capitalism, where children were increasingly prepared for economic productivity rather than holistic growth. Thus, Hard Times is both a literary novel and a social protest. To conclude, Dickens presents utilitarianism as danger when it becomes excessive, mechanical, emotionless, overly rational, anti-imaginative. Through Grancrine, Bitzer, Sissy, Louisa, and Sleary, Dickens demonstrates that human beings cannot live by facts alone. A society that values utility over humanity may produce efficiency, but it risks creating spiritual emptiness. Ultimately, Hard Times reminds us that education should reform complete human beings, not merely useful machines. Dickens' message remains urgent even today. When systems prioritize measurable success over compassion and creativity, we must ask ourselves whether we are educating people or merely programming them as robots. This is the question where I will end today's discussion. I hope you understood something, and till next time, Allah Hafiz. See you guys soon.